It is my pleasure to call to order the Thursday, November 12th, 2020 special meeting of the Abington Township Board of Commissioners concerning the fiscal year 2021 proposed budget. And let us please start with a roll call.
Commissioners Thompson,
Here.
Brodsky,
Here.
Bowe,
Here.
Carswell,
Here.
Rothman,
Here.
Vaughn,
Here.
Myers,
Here.
Capone,
Here.
Bowman, DePlacido,
Here.
Weingrad,
Here.
Fahey,
Here.
Schreiber,
Here.
Hecker,
Here.
Spiegelman.
Here. Commissioner Bowman will be joining us in a matter of minutes. Let's all please rise for the national anthem. For the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance to the
Flag of the United
States of America
and to
and
the
to the
republic
republic
for which
for which
it
it
stands,
stands,
one nation,
one nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
with
with liberty
liberty,
and
and
justice.
justice for all.
All right. Now we will turn to Manager Manfredi for a brief presentation.
Thank you, President Spiegelman. Thank you, members of the board. So as you know, on the 22nd, the preliminary proposed budget was presented for you to have to review in anticipation of this evening. The information, the documents, the budget, the PowerPoint, all of that information is on the website and has been on the website. But this evening, the presentation will be highlights and key points and certain specifics that are relative and important as an overview for anyone who may not have been present for that. And again, just to point out that the budget is online. The full PowerPoint from that presentation is online, and related documents are also there. So with that said, I'll begin with the presentation. Next slide, please. So the budget schedule, as I just mentioned, Thursday, October 22nd, this FY 2021 preliminary proposed budget was introduced and presented to the Board of Commissioners. We, at that time, went through various details of revenues and expenses and got into some more information that was important to the future. This evening, the 12th of November, the Board of Commissioners has in front of it for their consideration adopting the preliminary proposed budget as the proposed budget. And when that is adopted, that then becomes the proposed budget for fiscal year 2021. The public comment period will then begin. We're anticipating that will begin Monday, November 16th, and will be available for another 20 days. So in addition to the 20 plus days that the preliminary has been out there as an additional timeline for people to review, their required time for the proposed budget the 20 days begins on the 16th. And then, of course, as you know, the December 10th meeting, 6:00 p.m. special meeting for the Board of Commissioners to consider adopting the fiscal year 2021 annual budget and the tax levy ordinance. So that is where we are, it's where we've been, and where we're going with respect to the budget schedule. So some key points that are noteworthy. This budget does not increase real estate taxes, holds the business privilege, mercantile, earned income, and other fees at the same level as fiscal year 2020. The budget recognizes that it is imperative to immediately begin planning for the future to manage the losses experienced as a result of this pandemic. There's no question that the $5.3 million loss that has been identified and was discussed is going to be a challenge going forward. And there's also no question that while this budget does not recommend a tax increase, because there is such a need to focus on all aspects of revenues going forward, that we begin doing that early in next year. And the calendar that you'll see shortly, that again is being reiterated from the previous meeting, I'll run through. And again, another key point, this budget reduces the general fund expenditures for fiscal year 2021 below the budgeted expenditures for fiscal year 2020. We spent a lot of time in this current year cutting costs, enduring furloughs, and I already talked about that at the beginning of the last budget presentation, so I won't reiterate that. But a lot of time was spent in reducing costs this year in anticipation of the losses that we've had. And we anticipate that we carried those forward, frankly, into 2021. So the expenses for 2021 are actually lower than the expenses for 2020. As I mentioned, the need for making sure that we focus early and soon on planning going forward. This calendar, which frankly was very similar to what we had hoped to do last year before COVID hit. And of course, everyone knows that, and we've talked about that, so I won't waste your time and again, repeating myself. But as you can see, we begin a strategic planning process in March, and that strategic planning process obviously will have as a key component of that revenue strategies going forward for how we deal with all revenues in light of this new world that we're living in, the losses that we've experienced. And given the spike that we are now experiencing in the unknowns as to what the next 3 to 6 months will be, there's a lot of things that we are going to continue with in terms of our watching expenses through the end of this year, as well as in the first quarter of next year. But the process will begin as we had intended last year in March. So this budget, the tax rates and the revenues by levy, and as you know, we have a general levy and we have special levies. The general purposes, fire, library, parks and rec, earmarks for the general levies, as well as the special levy for ambulance, debt service, and the retirement OPEB are 4.851. Again, it is the same tax rates and the tax rate as it was for 2020. What that means to the average property tax owner and the typical township property tax owner, that a property owner will pay $1 property tax for every 1,000 of the taxable appraised value of the property. If the Montgomery County assessed value for an Abington Township homeowner's property were set at $150,000, then 1 mil of taxes would equal $150. At the proposed township tax rate of 4.851, the average township taxpayer will pay $727.65 in township property taxes, which is an increase of $0 from 2020. And it's virtually identical to what was the same example as last year. And again, just pointing out that it's important to note that this township property tax only does not include the trash and sewer fees that you know are in addition to it. So the general fund, which is the base operating fund of the township, and you could see the breakdown of operating revenues and appropriations and operating expenditures. And again, I do realize that we went through this before, and in fact, this is in the budget documents, but I just wanted to highlight it again for anyone who may have missed the presentation on the 22nd. Our total general fund revenues are at 44,471,763, and expenses are at 441,471,763. But the key to point out here is that the operating revenue total of 39,114,288 is 5.357,475 less, which means we're relying on the fund balance to appropriate and create that shortfall. Given what we are projecting, and it could be, that number could be higher depending upon the last quarter of this year, but what we are projecting as a beginning fund balance for 1/1/21 would be ending the year after revenues and expenses at 6.188,515. And as you may recall from the presentation, we're projecting to begin this year at 11,545 with spending using 5.357 of the fund balance as an appropriation to balance the budget. That would leave us with a net fund surplus or fund balance of 6.188,515 to begin 2022. Again, all things being equal, revenues and expenses being as projected, and fund balance being what it is. These are budget projections. So where does the township taxpayers' property tax dollar go? As you can see, the township in yellow represents 12% of the tax bill. So, you know, that those taxes that you pay and that tax bill that you receive, 78.5% of it goes to the school district, 8.5% of it goes to the County of Montgomery. The 1% goes to the community college. And again, 12% of the tax bill for all the service that are received, the high quality level of service that are received is 12% of the total tax bill. That is the brief overview of what we went into in great detail on the 22nd. If there are, I'll turn it back to you, President Spiegelman.
Thank you very much, Manager Manfredi. And again, thanks to you and to Finance Director Herman and to all of the directors and every member of the township staff who went into to crafting this budget. I know it was exceptionally difficult to create a budget that did not raise taxes during this, what has been a pandemic calamity and every bit an economic calamity for our taxpayers, both residents and businesses of all size. And to be able to, I really think it's crucial to be able to offer, both it's what to me is both a relief year and a grace year. A relief year in that, as people have heard me say many times, you don't raise taxes in a depression. And while our overall national economy faces significant uncertainty, we know that in our sector, the section of the public sector that includes counties, municipalities, and school districts, what we're staring down the barrel of looks an awful lot like a depression. So we're not kicking people when they're down. But we're also giving people a grace year with the legitimate warning that we know that taxes are, barring some miraculous, not only a miraculous turnaround, but some kind of external relief, which this is by no means guaranteed. Taxes are going to have to go up, and significantly in the future, because we do need to shore ourselves up. That said, I'm going to go ahead so that we can start any discussion if necessary. I'm going to go ahead and make the motion. Hang on just one second. I have to get to my document here. Actually, can we go back to the agenda on the shared screen, please? Thank you. All right. I am going to go ahead and make a motion BOC-01-121020. And that is a motion to approve fiscal year 2021 proposed annual budget and authorizing advertisement of the budget and tax ordinance. And I so move.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Let me switch to a gallery view. Are there any comments from commissioners? All right. Commissioner Bolt.
Hi, Manager Manfredi. I was hoping to just ask you to comment a little bit about the challenge and some of the ways that you've addressing efficiency in the budget and still maintaining a high level of service for the residents of the township. I think those two things are in direct opposition. And one of the things that I've observed through the pandemic since March is that part of it's just been by people doing more. And, we have Chief Malloy on here. I think Fire Marshal Rohrer is on as a participant. I see Engineer Montgomery here. And we're very grateful to all of their teams, because part of it is just them committing to the township and doing more, but we can only get so much blood from a stone. And I'm curious how you thought about the budget in that aspect of trying to make strategic investments in order to still provide services, but maintain efficiency in the budgeting process.
Commissioner, I think efficiency in the way you framed that is fair. We began 4 budgets ago in identifying where expenses might be. It becomes very simple when you look at revenues and expenses. And I've said this numerous times, the introduction of the fund balance policy in 2014 was was very wise, very prudent. The discussions we had last year, there was a lot of discussion about how much to raise taxes, how much to rely on the fund balance. And you made the difficult decision last year to raise taxes, which actually helped put additional revenues into the budget. But when you look at efficiencies within the budget, I think you said this, you recognized some of the people on this call. And it has to be said that if not for every director, not only the directors, but the managers, the superintendents, the people in the field, looking at every turn for how do we do things more efficiently? How do we save $1 in everything that we do? So I think the first thing that we do is we make sure that we heighten the awareness and build in a mindset that a budget is not done and begun in July or August. That's when putting the numbers in the columns go. We look for efficiencies and cost effectiveness in how we do business every day. You mentioned a few departments. I could tell you Public Works, Mike Jones in particular. I can look at Chief Malloy and Lieutenant Porter and the things that they have done throughout the course of the year to try to find ways, and not just this year in the pandemic. Now, I'll be the first one to tell you, and when these numbers are finalized, we review them regularly. We review them again today. I mean, we estimate that in operation, setting aside what we reduced cost by in terms of furloughs and employees, part-time employees not working, which were somewhere around 2.1 million, but we're somewhere around 720,000, perhaps even approaching 1 million in just reduced cost in operations throughout the course of this year. We have in the past, when a position has left, we have tried to find ways to shift people into other roles. Some of the things that we've done in this budget, as you know, we've eliminated costs, we've eliminated employees in this budget. What that means is that we have shifted those responsibilities to others so that we can maintain the level of service, change how we do things, use technology and use other efficiencies so that we can add additional work to people. Perhaps we're giving people raises of 5 or 7%, but we're still, in some cases, if we're saving $100,000 in one position, but we're adding another $5,000 to $10,000 in a salary to someone who's taking on more work, we're still saving a lot of money. So we look for efficiencies in every position. We evaluate everyone's positions. We look at how can we operate more efficiently? How can we reduce energy costs? The EAC is doing tremendous work right now, and something that I asked them to do. And frankly, we need to regroup and reconvene on that in terms of what can we do for energy efficiency going forward. So we're looking at everything in how we operate and what we do every day to make sure that our costs are as low as they can be to meet the level of service that the people of Abington have come to expect. I can't even begin to tell you how proud I am of every director and every person that works in this township that has gone out of their way in working with us. And I must give credit to the police union members, the per diem union members in Public Works, and the non-union members who have worked so hard throughout the course of the year, taking on more work. There are folks who have been working more hours than you might even imagine because of the difficulties of the pandemic, but they understand the need to save the taxpayers' dollars and find efficiencies in what we do. So that's a long answer to, in essence, we evaluate every activity. We look at every position. We see if we are doing things as cost effectively as we can, and we proceed from there. One of the things that was approved in last year's budget that we're getting ready to finalize is the acquisition of software. Now it'll be cloud-based software that will help us. And as you may recall from last year's budget, it's going to be a public-facing software system that will enhance the budget process and budget reporting. In fact, this budget that you're seeing now, this hard copy and its contents and its presentation and how it looks won't exist. It'll be a far new accounting software system that is real time, that people can log on or print out if they're such that people don't want to work with online. But we will be able to also build into that the ability to see how we're spending money in real time so we can evaluate. And it's not just the financial accounting system, it then becomes a management tool for decision making. So those kinds of things, the payroll system, one of the ways that we're able to reduce costs in certain areas is because we'll become more efficient by using technology so that we need less people. So, we don't always try to do less people. Our first goal is to do it through attrition. We try not to eliminate positions where necessary. Frankly, the fact that we had to reduce that number in this budget because of the pandemic, while it was painful, it could have been a lot worse. So, short answer, we're mindful. We look at everything we do every day and how we do it. And we try to always make sure that the question I tell everybody, and I think any director will tell you this, if ever in doubt, the question I ask everyone to think about is your decision what's in the best interest of the township and the people we serve? If it's in the best interest of the township and the people we serve, then we should do it. If it's not, then we need to rethink it. And that's the kind of mindset we have in everything that we do every day.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I know that by necessity, budgets need to be line items, but I appreciate you highlighting the interconnectedness of everything within the budget and how one line affects another. And so thank you. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Commissioner Bowe, thank you very much for that question, and thank you, Manager Manfredi. Commissioner Thompson.
Sorry, it took me a while to find the mute button. Manager Manfredi, I was wondering if you could fill us in a little bit on the CARES Act and some of the aid that's available for municipalities and whether or not we've been able to get any of that and what the outlook is for that.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that. That was actually the subject of a meeting today. We are going to be reaching out to Montgomery County to find out what we are going to be eligible for and what we might be able to expect. We have taken the approach that we can't rely on grants or others, that we need to move forward on what we need to do for us. If we are able to get CARES Act funding, if the federal government actually decides to do something to assist local governments beyond where they are with the CARES Act, then I think that would become a windfall. I know that Mr. McEnany, who is on this call, is working through the monies that we know we're eligible for that's related to our COVID expenses. And I know he's working on that as we speak. And I know it's not finalized. So the short answer is we are working on what we can get through the CARES Act for COVID related expenses. And we are hoping to be in line for dollars from that are coming down from the federal government. We have not received any just yet.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Thompson, and again, Manager Manfredi. Are there any other additional commissioner comments?
Yep, Commissioner Spiegman, if I may.
Yes, Vice President Hecker.
Thank you. So I just wanted to say that I do appreciate all of the hard work and energy and effort that went into this budget. There's been a lot of discussion between Rich and the department directors, among us, with him. And I think what I can say, reflecting upon this is that we're not going into this budget naively, right? I mean, there's a lot here that has to occur in order for these assumptions to bear out. And where we find ourselves today is that, Pennsylvania recorded 5,500 new cases of COVID today, which is a 280% increase over the highest day in April. So we have some challenging days ahead. And I think it's important for those who are watching this to know that we're going to have some difficult discussions next year, even if everything remains exactly as we've put into this budget. And that's not a certainty. So, it's my expectation that we may be having a different discussion next year, and we're going to have to do that planfully. And I look forward to working with all of you on that. Thank you.
Excellent point, Vice President Hecker. Thank you so much for making that point. All right. If there are no additional comments from commissioners, there's been a motion and a second. So all in favor with moving forward with the proposed budget?
Public comment, sir.
I apologize. I jumped out of order. This is my first one of these. My apologies. All right, let us go ahead and take public comment. We have one caller with their hand up.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Lehman.
So I'm going to just start out by saying, please don't play that music anymore. It was loud. It was way beyond what anybody can hear over. You know that I have hearing difficulties. Please don't do that. We all have things going on in our own homes while you're getting ready to start your meeting. And when we have to put it on to wait for it, we need to be able to hear what's being said. The second thing is you need to provide a way, Zoom meetings, for people to reach you. There should be a number posted on a separate screen or on Nathan's screen or somewhere that people can reach you when they have problems, or there should be a chat mechanism. And it would be appreciated if you would let us mute our own mics in case we have something going on in our own homes. But at any rate, I would like to say, number one, Manager, I am absolutely disappointed in all of you. All of you know that the manager didn't answer any of the questions that he was asked to answer. I got today at the very last minute a half and almost answer on one thing. And I am very disappointed that none of you took up for that. You all were aware that that was happening. And those questions deserve to be answered long before the meeting. They were asked long before. I am saddened that if Tim Clark's video was posted, it certainly was not posted where I told Mr. Manfredi I would look for it. So I don't know if it was posted or not, but it certainly was not there any time that I looked. And that was promised as well. One of the things that's happening is that we are moving people and positions around and renaming them. Literally, you know, you cannot have any continuity. You cannot find the people's salaries, put the percents up. Mr. Manfredi refused to give the percents. And let me read you a few of the percents from the ones that I painstakingly had to dig out from the two budgets and try and put together and try and guess who was in what spots. Okay, we had 10.9% increase from somebody who's doing a job that I can't even tell you. Every single thing that I see is not working right. 28.8% raise for one person, 14.1%, 6.18%, 24.44% raise. We had whole departments that went up 4.77%, 4.55, 7.01%, 7.5, 6.4%. It's not, after all this talk about.
Ms. Lehman, that is 3 minutes. Please, please kindly wrap up in 30 seconds.
Not 3 minutes. I just sent you the open records law tonight. For a complex issue like a budget, you need to allow a reasonable time to speak. I've only spoken on one issue, and that was the fact that we cannot get the increases, the raises, and that they are very high and they are ridiculously high. And people can't do more than they were doing in an 8-hour day before. So we have literally to change this and to change the fact that the names of the positions keep moving around. In our chart, just in this budget, it says Superintendent of Public Works, and also there's
your time is up and will not be further extended. Thank you for your comments.
President Spiegel.
Manager Manfredi, yes.
Yeah, let me address some of that so that people don't hear those numbers and think that there's no sense to them. You know, it's disappointing to hear that no answers were given. I specifically answered that question about what the increases were. I know, and Ms. Lehman just referred to it. Ms. Herman responded to a few of those specific larger numbers. But, you know, one of the things that Commissioner Bowl just mentioned is about how do you find efficiencies? And I just talked about how sometimes you shift people's positions, you change job descriptions. We have to be nimble. We have to be agile. We have to be able to move. We have to be able to change and adapt and be innovative and inventive in how we deliver services. So there are positions, as I mentioned in my presentation, in my response to Commissioner Bowl, there are positions that are evolving and changing. There are positions that are taking on additional responsibilities. So the increases that I responded to in writing in answering the question, which again, there was an answer given, perhaps it wasn't satisfactory or agreed with, but in any event, there are increases that are larger, not in terms of 25% or 40%, but there are also ways, because we are trying to be more transparent in how we do things. And frankly, let's talk about one area. We mentioned the construction services. You know, we are combining line items, so it's going to look like the percentage is higher, but the salary is not higher. One of the things that we did this year is listed the salary or the wage for every position. We're not trying to hide anything. It's listed on the table of contents where this wage and salary schedule is. So we are being transparent. We'll try to answer any clearly articulated question that is discernible that we can answer. We will try to answer them as honestly as we can, and we'll continue to be transparent. The budget document includes a lot of information, so I guess that it is true that people have to try to discern from that and read that. But I just want to let people know that we are being mindful of the increases, and it's not just simply line items. And the increases might appear because of how we handled things last year during the collective bargaining process, which I know we talked with Ms. Lehman about last year as well. So it's not that people are being ignored. The other thing is too, we're looking at evolving in how we design jobs. So someone might be a superintendent today, but they might be a manager of operations in 2021, which is why that's reflected the way it's reflected. Again, we must be nimble, we must be innovative, we must be mindful. We have to look for efficiencies in how we do everything, and those job descriptions need to be updated to reflect what people actually are doing and are going to be doing. So I just wanted people to understand that. Thank you.
Thank you for that explanation, Manager Manfredi. All right, so we are now public comment is now complete. There is a motion on the floor. All those in favor with moving forward with proposed fiscal year 2021 budget and beginning the public comment period on Monday, November 16th. Please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes.
Oh, Commissioner Spiegelman,
Commissioner Sapone, yes.
I have just one question. So the last speaker stated that there was employees that got a 24% increase in their pay. That's not accurate information, am I correct? Rich, is that right?
That is correct. Well, from 2020 to 2021, that is absolutely correct.
Okay, thanks, Rich.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Rich, and thank you, Commissioner Sapone. All right, now we are going to adjourn this meeting, and in a minute we will begin the monthly Board of Commissioners meeting. Thank you all. Thank you again, Rich and the entire township staff team. Budget meeting is now adjourned.